Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of On Point. Today is going to be an exciting day. With me today is Mr. Jimmy Eastman. We have Mr. Padmore and Mr. Tulay coming on later on. But we have issues in Liberia that are very, very touching, very, very emotional, politically motivated. We are going to deal into these issues. Obviously, this is an interactive show. We expect that you will call in or send in your comments. Please do us a favor and share the show. Let us have an honest discussion about political issues on the ground. Today, we are going to be talking about the environment in Liberia. First off the bat, we are going to be talking about Honorable Cummings, the end of the trial speech, and his recent press release about events happening either on his staff or on his compound. And we are going to be talking about the Senate's rejection of Mr. Jefferson Koijee's fiance or girlfriend. We are also going to be talking about why is ECOWAS concerned about the 2023 elections in Liberia and elsewhere in the sub-region. The environmental degradation and its impact on the poor masses of Liberia. And then we are going to be talking about the possibility of different combination of tickets. Which opposition ticket is most likely to win in 2023? And then finally, the boycott Gonglo ticket, Cummings Gonglo ticket, Gonglo's Cummings ticket. It's going to be your choice. You're going to tell us, in all honesty, which one of these tickets would you prefer to see, and which one realistically is able to unseat the present government. And is it realistic? Can anybody unseat the mighty CDC? With me today is Honorable Jimmy Eastman. How you doing there in the nation's capital and have the family?
Hey, Mr. Gayman, it's a pleasure being on here with you. Many things going on in our little country. We know that there is the political season. The campaign season is about to open soon. There's a lot of clamoring going on. In the world as a whole, we see a lot of environmental, catastrophic effect of different things that are going on in the world. We would like to examine those things and how it relates to Liberia and what we can do to better prepare ourselves and to brace ourselves for impact. So I'm looking forward to this riveting discussion with you, and let's take it away.
Beautiful. Right off the top, there is a major political storm brewing in Liberia. We have a combination of opposition that are saying they want to unseat this government and they had the prescription to unseat the government. One of those folks who came out of the blue, came back to Liberia is Honorable Alexander Cummings. Cummings came in, he said he had the prescription to solve Liberia's problem. He wants to bring his corporate style, responsibility and leadership to governance. He wants to lead the country. He said he cannot serve in any other capacity but the presidency because he knows it is where he can make the greatest impact. So he does not have any interest in anything else. Mr. Cummings also is known for making some major cultural mistakes. Knowing our history in Liberia, one of the things that he did from the get-go, from the initial campaign 2016, was having people put him in a hammock and they were toting him around from village to village in other places, as in the past, that brought back, that opened a lot of cultural wounds. So we know he's a man that makes a lot of mistakes for the people he wants to lead. Now, we are also seeing Mr. Cummings as a man who says he has a worldview. Many things are happening in Liberia and around the world. Mr. Cummings does not address either one of these issues in any major press conference where the media and the world is allowed to ask him or grind him or grill him to questions and answer. He only has press conferences when it is germane or it is pertinent to character. One of those examples would be he made basically every day when he visited the Supreme Court or the Temple of Justice, he would meet the press and express how false he thinks the allegations were, but didn't address anything on the judiciary, any prescription. Here again, after everything has been falling apart, we found out that there is allegation that there was a man or young man that worked in his compound on his security detail that has sodomized a minor in Liberia. All of a sudden, Mr. Cummings now has released a press release disavowing this young man as somebody that not being in his employ. And from his camp, we have had triple answers, triple questions, triple things from his camp. Some said they didn't know who this gentleman was. The media team went on Spoon TV and said the gentleman does not work for Cummings. Then they turned around and said Cummings doesn't know this guy. Now they are saying, yes, he worked on a compound. Cummings knows him. He is not directly in the employ of Cummings. He is an employee through another agency that was hired. So here we are in politics. We are saying the Cummings camp is splitting hair. How can you have someone on your team that is your security, whether he or she is hired through, like in my office, are you temp agencies to fill in spots when my employee or somebody quit? That person is still within my employ because I pay that person, whether it's through another arm or then I'm paying for that person being there. So we are seeing here where the more they talk, the more answer they give, the more question it derives. Mr. Eastman, help me out here. If you were in the media and you were in the war room of the Cummingses, what would you advise them on how to address this issue that has a lot of question all over it?
There are many issues you mentioned. Let's start from the beginning. Cummings has been his case has been thrown out of court. All right. The SG found no grounds to continue after the Supreme Court's ruling that the constitutional document of the CPP were not consistent with the Constitution. So the court granted UP and all parties permission to contest under their banner. Subsequently, SG realized that then, since this document that is not legal, then of course there are no charges to bring against Cummings, for the document itself is non-existent. I think that is a time for Mr. Cummings to come out swinging, because admittedly he was distracted and preoccupied with his trial. If that was the strategy to distract him and preoccupy him, well, it worked for some months now. It appears that his own aspirants conspire against him and to bring this against him, and the government had no choice but to proceed with the trial. As much as I hear them say that the government prolonged or dragged the case along, I think the main issue came from his own co-aspirants, who brought the case to the government instead of them settling among themselves. So this revealed something about the whole CPP, that they are inconsistent, they are at loggerheads, and that Liberia wasn't the first item on the agenda. So uh, Cummings should come out swinging because now now he knows who his friends really are, and the other issues that are seem to be plaguing him is this other issue with this employee or somebody, the contractual employee that works in his fence. Honestly, I don't know why they besmear him with such a thing because everybody's supposed to be responsible for their own actions. But again, this is another ploy to drag him through the mud. So is politics. So the question you ask, what he should do, I think he should stay with national issues, the issues that affect Liberians. These other little distractions. To me, a simple statement, anyone could issue it. But I'd be more preoccupied with the things affecting Liberians, the everyday Liberians today, their health, their education, their ability to earn a living, their general welfare. That is what Liberians want to hear. All these other matters, all these other distractions, they will go away. But what will always be are the bread and butter issues. Those will always be forefront with all Liberians. So to me, if I was in that camp, I tell them stick to the issues that are plaguing Liberians and forget about all the other things. They are non-issues, and they're intended to distract you. So that's what I would advise.
Well, Mr. Eastman, in the United States and in the Western world, and I guess part of Liberia, when we were growing up, we had a program called Character Counts that says about who you are. And in politics, we usually say it's not what happened, it's how you handle what happened. It's not the crime itself. It is the cover up. It is the answers. It is how you address those issues. I'll give you an example of President Bill Clinton. When Bill Clinton had an affair in the White House, uh, that alone was not a crime because it was something that was family matter. It was between him and his wife and the American folks for judging him for the kind of character he is. But when they asked him, have this ever happened in the White House? He said, it never happened. He put his finger up and said, I never had a relationship with that woman. And on an oath, he lied. So the FG said, it is not what happened. It is what he said happened. So here we are. We have an employee. We have somebody that works for the campaign, whether that person came on a contractual basis or that person is your direct employee.
I think this man's a security. Excuse me for interrupting, but he's a security. I don't know if he's working on a campaign.
It doesn't matter. A security is part of your detail to keep your compound, to keep your travel, to keep your well-being safe. That's part of you cannot extricate that from who he is. So if that is the case, why not come out and say, listen, what this young man did is terrible. We have fired him. We have contacted his contractors that he no longer wanted in our vicinity because what he committed was a crime. But instead, they are splitting hair with saying, first, they didn't know who he was. Then second, they say he was never in the employ of Cummings. And as the people kept digging, and as they are still digging, they will find out, in fact, there are pictures that people are sending me that Mr. Kekula and Mr. Cummings were in very close proximity, talking security issues, he making presentation in the presence of Cummings, all of these things. So for this standard bearer to say he never knew this guy, don't know who he is, he was hired through somebody else, it says something about the character of this man who wants to lead a country.
Mhm. Okay, so if I get your point, you see, the first thing here should have been addressed was that this act was, first of all, a crime, and they condemn it, an act of criminal intent. That should have been the first condemnation. That should have preceded the disassociation from this individual, right? That's what you're saying, right?
That's correct.
So why I tend to agree, um, but have the facts been concluded? Is this man is the this man you talk about? Is he in jail? Is he should be in custody if he committed a crime? If I'm not mistaken.
He was arrested and charged, and he's in jail. All of the things I think the police made, based on the initial interview, there was a press release that Mr. Kekura, who works for the Cummings camp, have been arrested for sodomy, and the evidence is clear, and he's now in prison, or well, excuse me, he's at a detention center. He has been duly charged. So yes, the legal aspect of it, the police have arrested him. The child that was sodomized have pressed charges. The parents have pressed charges. The medical record is clear that yes, this happened. So yes, the police have done its job based on what they said, what they extracted from the interview. These are the facts, and these are the facts as they will be presented to the, I guess, the Solicitor General.
I'm in total agreement with you. First, to address these issues, you need to show where you stand on certain issues. Being against crime should be primary. Being against anything taken against any act against a child, underage child, is even more horrendous. That should have been addressed, and for them to miss that and in fact go to disassociate themselves, I think it was a missight. But I do agree, though, that you can't be responsible for people who are contracted to drive your car, to build your buildings, or wash your floor. Those people have their own lives. As much as you can have them dismissed from your premises, but it should have been addressed that this thing, they do not care for it, or they do not condone it, and they have immediately had the employee suspended and no longer is allowed within their confines. I agree with you totally. That should have been handled much better than that.
Now let's look at the missteps. This was a major misstep because when you are having a good week like he had after this court case, this is a time where he should be floating. Like Muhammad Ali used to say, he should be flying like a butterfly here, okay, and stinging like a bee. But instead, because of the amateurish, the amateur handling of something that's supposed to have been gone away, now this thing is going to drag on. I'm hearing and I'm seeing in my own inbox here photographs that would debunk Mr. Cummings by saying they didn't know who this man was. They don't know him. He's not part of the campaign. But they will show proximity. And this thing is just going to go on. And you will have to tell another lie to cover another one. And it's just going to continue to continue. But let's look at some of the missteps. What's about his initial introduction into Liberian politics? With Mr. Cummings in a hammock and the people toting him from village to village. You tell me, for somebody who is highly educated from the corporate world, who wants to lead a country that is coming from war and traumatized, who are the handlers to put this man in a hammock and have the native people tote him around?
It reminded, I guess they were trying to imitate what they did to Tubman back in the day. It was another misstep. Because the way it portrayed, it may have been low. They may have thought they were trying to uplift him, but it was an unseemly event to have somebody towing you at this time in our history. But again, we do see a lot of some full poor steps by the campaign. It's going to be I can understand why it's going to be a learning curve for them. There's a lot of things that are traditionally wrong. We have our culture, and if you're going to lead, you have to be very concurrent with the culture and know what it will how an act will be interpreted, and know how to guard against certain things. I think it's incumbent upon any one of those leaders who want to be at the highest office that he has to understand Liberian culture and know certain things to stay away from. And don't be persuaded by the crowds, and always know what is ethically correct and what is culturally correct, so that he isn't viewed in the wrong way. But since that incident, I think he did mention something about it. But what I believe he will be more judged on is whether he can improve the lives of Liberians as a whole. It's one thing to say you can do this and do that, but we want to see that happen. So these are things that can be used politically, as politics is a lot of optics. But at the same time, the bread and butter issues, I think, will be what people will be going into the ballot box thinking when 2023 comes.
Well, Mr. Eastman, those of us who have been into politics all of our lives, there are things that you talk about the ethics. We are talking about things that your opposition is going to hold you to, and they look forward to you making your mistakes, like they used to do Joe Biden, because he's a guy of gaffe. So the opposition had tons of they didn't have to do much opposition research, especially when it's visually available, like the one that is happening in Liberia, Mr. Cummings. This is a group of folks that came on the scene, and they say they have the best and the brightest, Liberia's best and the brightest, people who are socially savvy, people who are media savvy, that will come in and present him for who he is. Now we are talking about major missteps. Now let's look at the present event with the economy. The world is in a tailspin when it comes to the economy, the bread and butter issue you talked about. When Mr. Cummings had the chance to address these issues, he said, I want to fix the economy. I want to fix agriculture. I want to fix the road. I want to fix education. So now the opposition has pinned on Mr. Cummings this new title, Mr. I Want to. That's his new name now, Mr. I Want to. He wants to fix education, fix healthcare, fix road, fix education, fix everything. But he doesn't give you when, how, why, and how much it's going to cost, and how he's going to raise the money to do all of these things. This is a man who works in corporate America that we expect that when he comes out, he will be prepared. So how does he make that case?
Well, let's welcome Mr. Tulay. Ms. Tulay, thank you for joining us. We just started talking about the first of the issues, and that is the aftermath of the Cummings case and the recent incident of an employee that was associated with the Cummings compound, and how it was addressed. Mr. Gayman just made a very lucid description of how, instead of condemning the act or the actions of this person, it was more an attempt to disassociate with the person. and so Mr. Gayman called that in point. So you go ahead and chime in since you just got in to bring you up to date.
Oh, thank you. Like I told you guys, I said sometimes I may not be on time on Sundays because we only got 3 months here that we got light, so you got a lot of a lot of things to do because September coming, it gets chilly. Everybody start wearing sweaters. By the time we hit October, nobody going anywhere again. Yeah. So anyway, it's nice being here. I want to say welcome to all of those who normally take up their time, especially to our faithful who always take up their time to be here with us. Guys, I don't believe in guilt by association. I have my differences with Mr. Cummings, but I think his staff is responsible for his actions on his own. That's just my opinion. Um, I see Cummings as not being somebody who has shown critical judgment and who has not shown that he's integrous. Because Mr. Gayman and I have spoken about this many times. Integrity is in the little things. It's not just in the big things. It's what you do on your way to getting into power that makes me to believe, or to hold you in a particular place, whether you are integrous enough or not. And unfortunately, I will tell you the reality here that I've not seen Cummings to be very integrous. But that's a different matter. Uh, his and like you said, the distancing, from the individual. Um, there's no need to distance yourself from something that somebody did that you didn't do. You didn't sanction. You didn't send him there to do and everything. Say, yes, the man is working for me, but even my child who is 18 years old, if he did something, if I didn't send him, if I gave him a command to go and do it, then I will bear responsibility or culpability for that action. But I didn't send him. So whether he works for me is beside the point. The fact is I'm a law-abiding citizen, and anybody working for me, I expect to be law-abiding. So let the law take its course. Let the investigation go on. If the man is held culpable and he's held responsible by the court of law, and the court of law finds him, then there's nothing I can do for that. You see, that's what you should do. You cannot say, oh, you cannot distance yourself from the man. Because the man works, he's a domestic staff. Whether he's a security officer, or maybe if he's a security officer for the security agency, then that has nothing to do with you. But if he's a security officer that works for you and under your employee directly and you pay his wages, then just say, look, the man acted in a way that I do not support. There is no way I can lend credence or then I can sustain his actions or I can defend him. Let the Lord take his course. That's all you do. Yeah, he works for me, but the fact is he messed up. See, the thing is, we should stop trying to live according to the perception of people, especially when the perceptions are what I call fickle-minded perceptions. Stick to the truth. Own up to your responsibilities and defend yourself. This is where we know whether you defend yourself or not. Like, and before I turn it over to you guys, Mr. Gayman said something. Mr. Cummings is not an ideologue. It's just as simple as that. He's not an ideologue. Matter of fact, I'm of the school that if you're an ideologue, then you espouse and articulate your ideologies. You stand by what you believe. Unfortunately, we are very short in our political spectrum in Liberia. We don't have ideologues. I created a post and I said, I have nothing against benevolent dictatorships. I have nothing against them, especially when they would take a country from a backward status into a status where people can be proud of it. Because Mr. Gayman, let me say something to you, just running it up. The entrenched paradigms that are in Liberia today, the mindsets, and because mindsets informs actions. Mindsets inform actions, right? The mindsets in Liberia today, the only way you can change Liberia, you gotta have a semblance of dictatorship. You gotta have a semblance of pushing things through. I'll give you a common example. No president can do anything in Liberia with the current status of the national legislature in Liberia, Mr. Eastman. It's a waste of time. You will not succeed. As composed, and as established the national legislature. So what you got to do, you got to join forces with the people to attack them, and they will accuse you of being a dictator. You got to join if you want to carry an agenda to change Liberia, to make Liberia a better place. If you're really a visionary and really an ideologue, you got to link up with the people. That the first thing you need to do, get the people on your side by being honest, by being integrous, and by being transparent with them. Naked yourself. There's nothing to hide. Because they will already, if you hide, they will imagine, they will make assumptions. So come up to them and tell them, say, look, we need to do these things, but the only way we can do it with the current composition and the theft of life that is going on in the national legislature will not accomplish anything. So I need you to work with me so that we can get them to change. The first thing we need to reduce their salary is in law. So we got to let them change that law. There's a lot to do, but like I said, benevolent dictatorship. But when you got the people got to see that you got their interests at heart first and foremost. You got to see that you want everything you do is not for yourself and your cronies, but you are about them. Mr. Gayman, Mr. Eastman, these people will follow you. They will blockade roads. They will make demands so that Liberia can change, because Liberia is not going to change with talk. I'm telling you today, the national legislature will stand in the way of any positive change, because the first thing they want is what is for them and not what for their electorates.
Mhm.
Great. I think we talk about character. We will visit it at the end, but let's move on to the next topic that is burning in Liberia. Uh, People like me, and I guess everybody else, when we were in opposition, we talked about nepotism. We talked about families and friends and who know you, which is from the old order.
Hmm.
We found lately, I don't know how true this is, but we heard that the young lady that was rejected by the Senate is a fiance or girlfriend of Jefferson Koijee. She went to be confirmed, and as usual, or lately, that she presented fraudulent papers, or her resume is something that she's not. That she went to, or she's a student of the University of Nairobi, and she's studying, I think, maritime, whatever that was, but it turned out that that was not true, uh, and she was rejected. Our caveat to that is the main person, the main driller, the person that was drilling her, is the senator from River G by the name of Ball Childs. Ball Childs himself.
Oh, now I need Jonathan Sigway. Don't that
You,
that
you broke up. You cut off. You cut off.
Okay,
Mr. Tulay.
okay. His name is Jonathan Segway Ball Childs, right? Well, his football name is Ball Childs, but Senator Segway.
Mhm.
Senator Segway was ensnared in the Ellen government when he himself submitted fraudulent documents, fake resume, and for him to have sat there and grilling this woman, telling her you are fake, you are a fraud. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. But Mr. Tulay, help me out here. We just talk about character here. When we were growing up, we say character counts. Can you imagine the two character? A fraudulent character is accusing another character of fraud. In fact, somebody inbox me and said, this is what we need in Liberia because it takes a fraud to recognize one. Go ahead.
Okay.
Mr. Tulay.
Yeah, Mr. Gayman. This is the issue here. He was performing his official duties. The fact of the matter is, his fraud did not factor in being elected as a senator. It didn't factor. But the same rope that caught goat is what he used to catch cow. Because it caught me, I won't let you pass. That is exactly what he's saying. The thing caught me. I was disgraced in this place. I was grilled the same way. I was exposed as a fraud. Now, have I changed? He can't change because the reality here is he's already a senator for a long time. Now, the same thing I'm telling you, Mr. Gayman, there's some of these people that are in power. They're not going to let Liberia go. You know, they've all turned themselves into pharaohs. And the only way Liberia will go, we need a leadership of that will say, I am not a partner with you people until you people partner with the Liberian people. We need a presidency that will say, I won't work with you until you can partner with the Liberian people, until you make decisions that improve the material well-being of my people. I'm not a partner. You're a separate entity. The first branch of government. I respect that, but I'm not going to partner with you people. And every bill that I want to pass, I will get the people on, and the people will put pressure on you for the bill to pass. Look, he shouldn't have done it, but he already an elected official. And the thing is, Mr. Gayman, this government needs to stop this thing. Your man passed his sister as deputy minister of finance when he knew she didn't even have the experience or the education to be in that position, and the rubber stamp legislature passed her. So now the other man said, but if the other man's sister can pass, myself, my part of Jefferson can pass too. Because don't forget now, she's not the first fraudulent person to appear before the House. I mean, before the Senate for confirmation. She's not. She's not the first person with fake papers to go over there. It's just that at this very point in time, people in the public have been highlighting the issue of fake credentials, fake credential, fake. So someone like Senator Dillon picks it up, and then Borjas feels he has to support Dillon, and he comes up to grill her and to expose her. And then what even makes it worse, Mr. Gayman, if you want to lie, at least be prepared. Yeah. She didn't even have the issues on her hand. She didn't even know how to address herself. It was just ridiculous. The thing is this: that young man has a budget, city budget, that nobody he has to give account to no one. Let him take some of that money and go invest it and put his girlfriend there. Let her run. Let her build some investments. Employ people in Liberia. Poverty too much. Unemployment rate is too high. Let them do that. Let them go in the private sector. That's just what I'm thinking. Because the reality here is this: this government needs to vet people. Because Mr. Gayman, like now, in American government, when they're appointing people, they got people who will work with these people to make sure that everything is all there. The vetting. Besides the vetting, they put somebody with you to make sure the person helps you to get you across. The person will take you to meet the various senators and all these different things to make sure to get you across. Now, they want to tell me they got nobody. These people don't have Mr. Gayman are your people, but they want to tell me they don't have anybody. Listen. A political party can come to power, but it's no political party runs a government on their own. Mr. Eastman, tell me if I'm lying. Well, you have to incorporate people.
Mr. Tulay, you are 100% right, because I have been part of this for both Republican Party and Democratic Party. When there's a nomination, we have a section where we have a prep room where the person we set up mock court, like a court, and where you go and the questions are asked. And you are prepared because we know what they're going to ask you. And we grill you through this over and over. And then when you come in, we give you something like a binder. You can flip through. Like the young lady were asking her, what is the website of the school that you went to? And she couldn't come up with the website, and told the discussant, can I email you the website? The man said no, just give me www. where you went to school.
.com.
So this is my own political party here, and I'm saying to myself, how ill prepared can you be that you know you lie? At least polish your lie. Be prepared to lie. You in a foxhole, have an escape route, have an exit. Mr. Eastman, does this qualify for nepotism, or what is this? I didn't know, because nepotism is usually the family hiring, but this one is a different kind of animal.
This matter, we laughing about it, but it shows something deeper, much deeper than that. Because why are these types of nominations being made in the first place? And these are the ones that have to be approved by the Senate. So if you can make nominations like this that have to be vetted, what about those positions that were given that no vetting was required? No Senate approval was required. If you can put someone as ill qualified for such a position, nominate someone like that. What about all the other positions? What had that? Who the people who are occupying them? There's a bigger picture that's here. Why is it necessary to put people that are not properly ready for a job? Why is it necessary to put them there? It don't we realize that when we continue putting people ill qualified in a position, that job will not be done, will not be done properly, and eventually will lead to a system failure. You see, when we look at the airport situation, we look at LEC, we look at the water and sewer, all these things are really a result of ill-qualified people doing it. And it's not just this administration, it's before. Just because somebody even has a degree doesn't even get them to be qualified. I have seen engineers come, they claim they were engineers, but they came straight to high positions and they never went through the rigor of designing and building. So they don't know, but they take the position and they can't do very much with the position because they don't have that experience to lead such an organization. Then you take somebody who had no exposure at all. I think we have to be very careful because the system is breaking down and it will continue to break down until it will lead to a collapse. So this thing, as much as we can laugh about it, this thing, it shows that the system is cracking bit by bit. Look at Mamadiki, the last guy. We found out, first of all, he wasn't even a Liberian citizen, but he had claimed he had all sorts of things, but he couldn't establish the authenticity of his citizenship. When are we going to start repairing? We've been breaking down for some time. Now it's time. We're supposed to get in the mode now that we start to rebuild the country. And to rebuild, you need sincere and dutiful people who know what they're doing in these positions. It's not a time to appoint people who are not ready.
Well, Mr. Tulay, what Mr. Eastman is talking about, we know it goes back to the beginning of time in Liberia, where people have come from Togo, Benin, Nigeria, Ghana, where we brought them in, and whatever they said, we couldn't check at the time that these people, you go to most of the high school that you went to, high schools that we went to, we have Seven-Ludian, Ghanaian, Nigerian, that we all called professors. There were no check and balances to see who these people are. And here we are, thank God to the background check that most of us are doing. One of the things that I have problem with, there's a young man that keeps sending me these things about these people do not have the right credential, but they focus strictly on college degree, that this person didn't graduate from this college, they didn't. But not once have they ever said this man have not worked one day in this particular field. He has no experience. He never worked before. He doesn't do this job. Nothing. They only concentrating on academic credentialing. Like Mr. Eastman is saying, you can have a master's degree in engineering and you have never worked one day in the field. No internship. You go to Liberia and they hire you as an engineer. The next thing you wear your three-piece suit and you're sitting behind some desk as an engineer. Talk to me. How do we remedy this? It's a serious issue here.
Mr. Gayman, I'll give you a common example. As a network engineer, I go to a company that got 100 sites. And we are doing migration. We are changing over from Cisco to Fortinet. So we change it over from our firewalls from ASH to FortiGate. I didn't even know about Fortinet. So imagine I finish school down, then I go to Liberia and you just take me because you know me and put me into a place without Now I am working. I'm scripting. I'm building. Yeah, I'm building. I'm building VLANs. On the firewalls. I'm building VPNs and everything. I'm getting that real CCNA experience, the knowledge that I need. This is not theory. This is the practical stuff, the one that you're running commands and it's sticking with you. Okay, you're solving problems, you're getting tickets. Because like I said, we got 100 sites. Most of our sites are in America. Our data center is here in the Topico. So we're using systems. It's a hybrid system right now because we got the old system still running and we're bringing it up to the new. So it's a lot of work. Some of our sites are giant sites, like the ones in Tucson, Arizona. These are giant sites. So what I'm just bringing out to you that I don't have the experience. Mr. Gayman, I'm gaining the experience. Right now I'm going through training. It may take a while. There's somebody who was even hired that been there before me, and he doesn't have access or authorization to do certain things because he is just getting to know some of these things. I'm being honest with you. Okay, so the reason why I bring this up is, especially in technical areas, it takes working there to know the nitty gritty, how to think while on your feet. That's what experience does. Okay, so you develop motor memory, you build your repertoire of the different working knowledge and the different working terminologies and everything of the environment, so you know what you're doing. What is happening in Liberia? Liberia, let me be honest with you, Liberia will not work the way as currently composed. It's a waste of time. It won't work, Mr. Gayman. It won't work, Mr. Eastman. It's fundamentally a flawed experiment. I'm telling you today. Fundamentally a very flawed experiment. Mr. Gayman, any system that elevates government employees over the people is fundamentally flawed. This one has nothing to do with George Weah, even though it only exacerbates the issue because of the gross ineptitude in certain key areas. But it would pass him if we don't take corrective measures now. Future governments will come and will continue in the same vein, like Mr. Eastman was saying. If we don't make fundamental changes, reform, we need to reform, starting with every individual aspect of life in Liberia. We need to make some key reforms. And to do that, like I say, it's a public-private partnership. The legislature hamstrings developmental functions in Liberia. Can we bypass them as currently constructed? Can we bring to bear the kind of mindsets that we need that will change and transform Liberia? Because, like I said, as currently constructed, Liberia is a flawed experiment. We need nothing works in our country. We need to break it down. We need to stop pretending that we have a country. This is where we pretending that we have a country. We don't have a country. Let me be honest with you. We have a system of government that only protects and elevates the basic needs and aggrandizement of a few over those of the majority. The pretense needs to stop. Nothing works. Education. We need to sit down, Mr. Gayman, and have a conversation, a very frank conversation. What do we want to see in education? The only reason why Rwanda is gaining ground is they're saying in the next few years they want to elevate themselves to a middle income nation status is because of education. The only reason why Singapore, with no natural resources, is one of the most developed nations in the world. Number 3 in almost all key indexes. Let me say this to you, or indices. The reason why Singapore is the way it is because of education. Mr. Gayman, we need to change things in Liberia. If we don't educate our people, like he said, credentials. Madam said he brought this fake thing about credentials. So everybody went to go and get credentials. Without experience, she just started putting kids into positions. Like I was saying, like I always say, look at those government, the amount of people, the kind of men that occupy government spaces. that were assistant minister, deputy minister, ministers, directors. Look at even Taylor government, because many of them will stay alive. Look at the kind of people that occupy offices in Taylor's government compared to what happened with Madam Salif and a step down on a George Weah. Look, I'm not trying to. I'm sorry for the time I'm taking, but this is too much on my heart right now. We're not going anywhere as a country until we start making some very fundamental changes. Stop lying to ourselves that Liberia is working. It's not working. Healthcare, nothing. Electricity, roads, water. Just tell me where you can sit down and say, yes, Liberia has worked well over the last whatever years it's been in existence. Mr. Gayman, nothing has worked as intended. How can you talk about a country? You don't have a public library. An entire nation without a public library. You have schools, even the Universal Library doesn't have a library that they can really boast of. Apart from that, the Universal Library putting out students without proper laboratories in the sciences. Leave that one. Public high schools don't even have reading rooms. Public high schools don't have reading rooms. Mr. Gayman, this thing, what we're doing to our future generation, is a crime. It's a crime that is supposed to line all of us, the old people, up and shoot all of us. They're the young people taking over the country. I'm being honest with you. Listen, this thing has to do with party. It just has to do with the rot. We are just a rotting people. I'm so sorry, but this is the reality. We don't think about the future, about what will happen to the children down the road. No, it's not because I live here. I live here, my son live here, my wife live here. If I don't want to go to Liberia, I don't have to. I'll be honest with you. But everyday Liberia is on my mind. How will we change things? Entrepreneurship, for instance. How can we change things? How? Our country belongs to the foreigners. Libasa Beach, foreigner. Royal Hotel, foreigners. All the big hotels, everything. All the supermarkets, everything. You don't think we have the capacity to do stuff? But think about it. The lack of integrity in us as Liberians. That paradigm, you have to shift it. How do you shift it?
Excellent. But Mr. Gayman, before you come in, I observed something in this country that we live in. And we live in the Western world, in the United States. And there's one thing I noticed about the people here, the culture. I don't want to make it a race thing. But I noticed some people, the people who rule, the people who control, the people who keep the country going, they are thinking about the next generation. They're thinking about what their children and their children would do. We don't have that concept in our heads. We think about today and us. We're not thinking about what will happen with the children tomorrow. What will give them? What will they have if we sell their future, that they have no resources? If we don't build roads, that's like you say, we don't build schools, we don't prepare them to be, what will they have? We do not think about the successive generations coming after us. And if you're not thinking about that, that means you will not have nothing. It would not be there, because you have to plan that. That takes a plan. You have to lay aside certain things for them. You have to prepare them so they can take over. And you're not doing anything for the generations to come. I mean, you will have nothing. And that is what Mr. Tulay was talking about. We don't have that right mindset. We have to be doing today for the benefit of the children and the children tomorrow. If we're not doing that, we're not doing anything. You can make yourself rich. You can have your 50 cars. You can do anything you do, but you have not done anything.
Well,
Mr. Gayman, come in quickly before you come.
Go ahead.
Sorry, this thing is really burning my mind. Mr. Gayman, let's think about this. This thing brings me to tears, right? I've always said this thing, we need to come to the table of brotherhood. Put all our CDC, Liberty Party, UP, everything one side. Because, Mr. Gayman, no political party is going to change Liberia. It pains me. I'll be honest with you. No political party is going to change Liberia as currently constructed. We're wasting our time. We're wasting our time. I'm being honest with you. And 50 years from now, some of us may be not be alive. But the generation of young people that are coming after, they will sit down and say, those people who are alive, what did they do for us? What decisions did they make that benefits us today? Mr. Gayman, we come to the table of brotherhood. Liberia has not worked as currently constructed.
But Mr. Tulay, not to cut you off, Mr. Eastman, this is why when I go to Liberia and the people despise me or you, once they find out that you from America, you got some education, you got this, the first thing that comes to mind is you are coming to exploit, because all of their lives, this is what they have experienced from people like us. And I talked to one of the Cummings handlers, and then the last time with the new guy on the block. And I wanted to discuss the unitary system that is destroying our country. Why do we have a system that is so imperial that the president determines who dies and who lives? How are you going to dismantle this unitary system to divest power? And nobody from the opposition has any plan or any notion that we have anything in Liberia called a unitary system. Everybody wants it because it gives them absolute power. Nobody wants to give anything up. So, Mr. Tulay, when you talk about dismantling the system, this is what I have been talking about for ages. And nobody in the opposition forget about anybody who is in power, because like the Doe people used to say, they think that we got it, we don't want to give it up. And you heard the vice president say, it's our time to eat. These are my own people here from my own political party. And you talk to people from the opposite side, they also want their turn. They are not discussing those things that we say, like you're talking about. What are the plans? When I spoke to the young man online about Cummings, if he's this new age person, he wants to do education, he wants to, but there is no how, when, who, and have you quantified this? How much all of this is going to cost, and how are you going to raise the money to do all of these things? So the CDC now, from my end, we have labeled him Mr. President He wants to do everything, but he has no idea how to do it.
Yeah,
so
because Papa, the thing is this: he's not sitting down with the right people and say, "Hey, the first thing is want to, like a laundry list." And myself during the week, I can be making a long list to do over the weekend, and when the time comes, I don't even get to do most of them, because I want to take the whole Saturday to sleep and recuperate for the long drives and the hours I spent up working every day. But the reality here is this: we need to change. Look, I don't want Cummings is. It's just Cummings doesn't have the solution to the problem. Let's just leave that one. The problem here is, like I said earlier, this is a Liberian thing. We need to come to the table of brotherhood. When I mean brotherhood, devoid of political, affiliation, because that is one of the things that have destroyed us over the time. We always put cleavages in our society. We always put demarcation lines, divisional, barriers. I'm sedition, or I am. So the party that comes in now is UP. So anybody who has not told the UP line is obviously an enemy of the state. In that thinking, Mr. Eastman is wrong. Because not everyone has to believe in you. Not everyone has to support you to become president. But one thing that can happen, and that's a reality, is that you cannot divest the man. You take for instance Jimmy Eastman, for instance. He banned technical field in Liberia from the late 70s to now.
Mm-hmm.
And you are having technical issues. You call up a Jimmy Eastman and say, look, I know you got connection with some other technical people from Liberia who in this particular era, this is what we are faced with. I want to bring a team together to find lasting solutions. Because one of the things that Eastman we have mentioned here is the lack of plan.
Mm-hmm.
See, even when we plan, we do not have discipline to see the plan through. We do not have discipline to see to bring the plan to fruition, because the lack of plan leads to the lack of structures and systems. But even when you when you develop the plan, you must have the discipline to see that plan through until it becomes a systemic, and until structures are developed out of that plan. And then you also need to be disciplined to make sure that the structures that have been developed out of that plan are sustained, and that the systems are made very, very, very fluent and workable. And then you always do assessment to make sure the systems keeps working, because the end goal of all of this, the most patriotic end goal of all of this, is to make sure that we deliver material well-being to the Liberian people. If we do not set ourselves up, excuse me, as currently constructed, is a failed experiment. We need to sit down and have a very, like I said, for instance, the president man going around and having problem with leadership by RIA. But not once have they put up a tender and said, look, we're inviting all Nigerian professionals out there who have worked in this sector. Send us your CV. We want to be able to interview you. We want to put together a think tank, a working group to find a lasting solution. Maybe those same people that were assembled, one of them is in retirement or whatever, or he can go into early retirement and take up the position, and run the place to bring it good. Mr. Gayman, we have an airport that cannot even run. Rwanda is about to build an airport that will cost $1.6 billion. Rwanda is about to build an airport that will cost them $1.6 billion. We can't even put electricity in our airport. The problem is the lack of desire to be proud of your country, to be really proud, where I can go anywhere, fold my arms and put my hand up and say, I'm proud to be a Liberian.
Well, not to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Mr. Eastman, we're going to go to the next subject, but Mr. Tulay and you guys are making a great point here, because the selfishness in our society, the instant gratification, does not give way to work ethics, to patience, to honesty. When you have a beggar nation like Liberia making more than the guys that they are begging, the Liberian legislative body makes more money than the U.S. Congress.
That's robbery, man.
You are talking about people that you go beg and say, Mr. Eastman, can you give me something to eat? Then he comes to your house, you eating filet mignon, you eating other things, and you drinking the best of wine, you drinking Dom Perignon, and I'm giving you my money to help your country, and you living that large. So yes, Mr. Tulay, you are right. We are living a false life, and nobody wants change. Because nobody have ever said, when I become president, I am going to decree or I am going to work that the $200,000 these guys are making in Liberia is too much. Do you know anybody in the United States or friend of yours that makes $200,000? Tell me the truth. I don't think you and I know anybody that makes that kind of money.
I know people. I know tech guys.
No, we know people who they are not regular people.
No,
they are not regular people that make that money for these guys. So you see where we are coming from. And none of these guys can say, you know what, if we are using 80% of donors' money, taxpayers' money combined, among ourselves, 80%, that's the recurrent now. We talk about almost 80%. You got 20% of $500 million left to build roads, to build schools, to do healthcare. Then we sit there. Then the same people sit there and say, we don't have healthcare. You are eating your own children to death.
Yeah.
You are eating our road to death. You're eating our hospital to death. But yet and still, we complain, and then we turn around and we elect several of our own folks. Once our own people are there, who cares? So with that being said,
let me give you a quick example of something. One of my uncles was the head of one of these government agencies. So after Madam Sadi sent him there, right after she came to power, and I went to go find him. I see the man sitting in the boardroom. So I said, why are you not in your office? He said, but look at that office. The guy who was there under the transitional government time, the guy made the office red carpet, everything brand new, real wood. I mean, the office was real well appointed, well decorated and designed. He said, I can sit in that office. I said, why? He said, I always begging donors for money. Then I'm supposed to be sitting in an office that the man come, the office alone tells them that I'm okay. I don't need to beg them for money. I'm begging donors for money for everything to run the corporation. And I'm supposed to sit in our office. Then they come and sit there. The office he coming from is a cubicle. Okay, the man who approved the loan to me, he sits in a cubicle and he comes and see an office that costs a couple of $100,000 or so, or even almost more than $50,000 to decorate. And it makes sense to you? No, you say I will sit here. I will sit on the ordinary chair. Everything. When they come, they will sit across from me in the ballroom and we'll talk. And then I know they will be able to understand and reason with me. I'm just bringing that up to say how we misplace our priorities. Okay, I was mentioning last Sunday about how the police can destroy cars, but it's not only with the police; it's all across government. They don't have no respect for money, for government money. I don't know the thing Liberia is America. Okay, so they don't respect anything. They just treat it any kind of way. You go to the offices, they build a brand new bathroom. Government, they're stealing money, right? But they can't even if you don't have running water in the area, you could build a tower and get trucks to haul water there, so your people don't have to use a bucket to, excuse me, to flush the latrines. So the bathrooms get run down. Everything gets run down in no time, and it's government money. And you got ministers who are ahead of these things. They don't even do a walkthrough to see how the thing that have been placed in the charge rather, how it's being managed, how it's being taken care of.
It
Nobody
is.
cares.
It
As
is.
long as he's getting money and he sits up there, he's okay. Like right now, I'll give you a common example. With the issue of the shortage of gas on the market, there's no shortage actually. The people are trying to price gouge because they got the gas in at a particular price, but they gotta go out and get it at a higher rate. So they have to sell it a little bit more. But nobody would bring sense to the conversation because all of them not buying gas. You see the danger of some of these things. That's why everybody's supposed to buy gas. Pay the man money, let the man buy gas for himself. Pay all of them. Look, going forward in future governments, let everybody take their pay. We give you the cat. You go to the gas station, generate the rest of us and buy your gas.
But
You go to the station.
I agree because in this country, you pay your own way to go to work. If they assign you a government car, you use it within special time after work. You have it parked, so that's a different. But let's look at the security side here. Lately, ECOWAS is concerned about the three major elections that are coming up on the West Coast. That's Nigeria, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. They are talking about the insecurity in Nigeria, where the killings have just gone. I mean, we are talking about the government has lost total control. 2 weeks last week, some bandits walked into a cathedral and killed about 100 folks. The last night they stoned a beautiful young lady, a student, because they said she said something about Islam, and they stoned her to death. They went to I mean, you're talking about all kinds of stuff, kidnapping. I mean, on an industrial level in Nigeria, in Sierra Leone and Liberia, we are the new democracies. We don't have the finances, we don't have the resources, we don't have the manpower. So they are taking it in context how to handle, because the elections they are very close together. Nigeria, Liberia, Sierra Leone, very close together. So the ECOWAS is saying security is serious issue here when it comes to our emerging democracy. Liberia is no exception. So when our neighbors, the bigger ones, are talking about security in their own backyard, what is it that the Liberian government, what is it the Liberian people are doing to keep our democracy safe, to keep what we have struggled for, we have died for, and where we are at this point? Security is a serious issue. We are not talking about the regular everyday security. Those are things that we handle. But when you're talking about electoral violence, Mr. Tulay and Mr. Eastman, that's a whole different animal. We're not talking about people getting missing here, somebody killed their girlfriend. Are terrible as that is. We are talking about electoral violence, which is violence on a massive level, nationwide, that requires all hands on deck. This is a serious thing that we need to be discussing and
Yeah.
putting mechanism in place
Okay.
for this to
Mr.
happen.
Well, yeah. Let me chime in real quick, and then you can come right back in. One a prerequisite for economic development is stability. If you have wars going on, you have civil unrest. These things tend to destroy infrastructure. It tends to disrupt the working trend to productivity. It disrupts productivity. So stability is required to move the country ahead economically. And one of the attributes for stability is peaceful political turnover, successions. So with the coming of the election and the changing, we want these elections to be stable and successful. Now, it's a concern for ECOWAS because if the elections are viewed as skewed and unfair, those are potential places that instability can occur. When you have cheated in the elections, people tend to protest. People tend to go on rampages, and so it is a concern that are these countries politically democratic, so that people will not feel cheated, so that it will have successful turnover and changing of the guard. So, and like I said before, we need stability to progress. The second aspect of it is there is a regional effect when one country is affected. If you think about Liberian War, the Liberian Civil War spilled over to Sierra Leone. It started spilling over to Ivory Coast. The only thing that saved Ivory Coast that the French went there and intervened to protect their property and interests. So it was having a regional effect. So there again, the concern that instability in one area will lead to instability in several areas, which will negatively affect the economic progress we're making. The third aspect is if we're not, one problem we are so small in size. There's certain industries and certain infrastructures that lend itself to what we call economies of scale. Instead of Liberia having, for instance, its own smelting furnace, if there was one that for the region, or we have another collaboration to process rubber, or another collaboration to process our cocoa, our cassava, but we're doing it in these silos, all individually. It's not as economically beneficial. The larger the scale you do it, the better it is. So we need more and more regional cooperation, and that's been one of our things that have been holding us back. We don't have enough inter-cooperation that we can benefit off of economies of scale. So the ECOWAS has some serious concern about. They have justified reason to be concerned about these elections.
Mr. Tulay, real quick, I want to address this. Our orientation in Liberia, nobody has ever accepted defeat. We are talking about even on the soccer field. A guy gets up, never practices, never pay attention to detail. We eat our farina and our big cassava leaf. We get up and go play, and you get defeated, and you say, the referee cheated, or the guy made medicine, or whatever. Anything to blame everybody except yourself, say your poor preparation. This have carried over into our politics, into our religious activities, into our social lives. So no one has ever or can actually sit there and say, okay, Mr. Tulay, I submit, you defeated me, it's all right, I'm going to come back and all of that. Everybody blames somebody else blames something else and something else. And nobody has ever came out and said, even though we have observers on here, observers are saying, based on everything they have done, everything they saw is not 100%, but is fair enough. And yet and still we say, we take it to the Supreme Court. And when the Supreme Court rules, we even challenge our own Supreme Court. Go ahead, Charming.
Our electoral system, whatever we do is as a result of who we are in Liberia. So it affects everything else. Even when you leave Liberia, you have to come out and you have to change your mindset. Your mindset regards to time, your mindset regards to personal discipline, your mindset to self-motivation, self-evaluation and appraisal. You have to appraise yourself to make sure that you stay on track to accomplish your goals. Mr. Gayman, this is the problem in Liberia. If the electoral process, yes, the people have the right to be afraid of, because we've seen the machinations that have been going on before we even enter the time of the race. So the ECOWAS have to say, hey, these things are coming. They have a propensity to cause problems across the sub-region. Nigeria, nothing new about Nigeria, Mr. Gayman. Nigeria is a bad experiment too, just like Liberia. You can just change Liberia for Nigeria. It's the same. It's just that in terms of the scale, they got a larger scale. The amalgamation of 1814. 1914. Sorry, not 1814. The amalgamation of 1914 by Lord Lugard, wherein they saw the South as the lady of means, and the North as the charming husband. In other words, when the British did the census before the independence of Nigeria, I think we all can say that they counted the legs of the cows and the goats in the north, because Nigeria is the only country across the south of, across West Africa, where the north population is bigger than the south population. Only Nigeria, and we all know it's a lie, and that lie persisted today. Nigeria has some very, very serious systemic problems. From the first coup that occurred, the one that killed, deposed Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, and that removed Nnamdi Azikiwe and Awolowo. From that first coup to now, because the first coup, what happened was when the premier of Balewa and was removed and murdered, the Hausas, they comprised the conscripts in the Nigerian army at that time. Majority of the officer corps of Nigeria were Igbos. Igbos are Catholics. Hausas are Muslims. The Hausas went on a killing rampage. The foundation of Nigeria from that time to now has always been like that. Every now and then, I lived in Nigeria for 5 years, so that's why I'm talking when I'm talking. Every now and then, the Hausas will go on this killing rampage in Kano, in Jos, the two cities, because Sokoto is so Islamic that the Christian activity is not strong there, but Jos, because of the climate in Jos has this sweet, the sweet temperate climate because of the altitude. So a lot of the Christian missionaries went and established in Jos. The churches are very strong in Jos. These Islamic people, when they're ready to go into Jos, they slaughter. They've been doing it for time immemorial. They kill people in Kano and Kaduna. It's been going on. It's not going to change. With that noise we've been hearing, they will still hold elections. Elections will be held and everything. The only place I'm worried about is Liberia. It's because there are some desperate. I'm sorry, but you close to some of these guys. They're desperate to hold on to power, but they don't want to do what would make them to remain in power. I said this the last time on a post that I created. If they were doing what they need to do, the opposition would not even have a voice. I'm saying this again. If these guys were doing what they need to do, the opposition will not have a voice. But they have gotten to a place they have a block in their brain. They cannot see reality. So as a result, they're not able to deliver on the small things. One of the major things that they're not able to do is to have a communication with Liberian people. How is that a problem? Mr. Gayman, how can a government lack the ability to talk to the electorate? Just have a conversation, just an ordinary conversation, and tell them how things are, where things are, and where the trajectory is, and which way we are going. So when you ask me, when you don't do these things, then you try to use extra means to hold on to power, and that portends for violence down the road. So Nigeria, I'm not too afraid of Nigeria. Nigeria have been like that. They Mile 2 in Lagos. They got the Oduduwa group, which are the offsprings of Europe. The Oduduwa is the progenitor of the Yoruba race. They have the Oduduwa people, and then they have the APC, the Arawa People's Congress, which is the umbrella group of the Hausas or the Hausa Fulani of the North. They've been fighting every year. That one is so. Every now and then they would take knives. The yam sellers would take knives and kill people, burn people in their cars along the major road that goes through the Mautu market. It's common. So it's not going to change. But Liberia, if you want to stay in power, this is to Maggie and this is to Twe, because George Weah, I don't know, he's just there. If you want to stay in power, you do what you're supposed to do for the Liberian people. Otherwise, when they vote you out, you get your butt out. Any attempt to do anything else will cause problem for our country. I'm telling you today.
Mr. Tulay, that is not going to happen.
But then let them do what it needs to do.
Listen, it's going to be fair and free. We're running out of time here. Let's segue into the next one here, something that I hold dear to my heart. I was just appointed to serve here in the state, to serve on the board of the environment. The Inner River Lagoon, one of the largest lagoons in the world. So this is very, very important to me. The environmental degradation and its impact on the poor masses in Liberia. I have few photos. I don't know if we have access to it now, that we needed to put up so we could see just one or two of those photographs. Gentlemen in the back, I don't know if we have access to it, but it shows you that people are building in the swamp. We are talking about a place that would be considered a reserve. The swamp, the mangrove in the world, their job is to absorb and clean and purify. What we are doing there is that people of power, people of means, and I know two of those folks, they have nothing to do with politics. They are not opposition. They are not pro-government. They are our friends, one from Minnesota and one from Detroit. And they are building these massive mansions. And I called one of them. I told them, this is unbelievable. He is more concerned about the view. This is a man who has come into the West, has seen that river view and all this is beautiful, but he's forgetting to know how these people build these massive homes, how they elevate these areas, and they are permitted. Okay, they are zoned to build there. You can't just build. And these people are building everywhere in Liberia. And then they talk about the floods. They talk about these things. My friend, I don't know where Dr. Wilton Tappe is, what his group is doing, but Liberia is headed for a massive, massive tsunami that is beyond our little capabilities. And Mr. Eastman, you are an engineer. You were here. This has nothing to do with politics. This has nothing to do with policy. This is the environment that is going to affect every one of us here. Want to go home and live the remaining of our lives back home in peace. But this is bad.
Yeah, Mr. Gilman, the poverty impacts the environment. But if I will go on, I will portray how now they want Africa and the third world in Brazil to protect the environment because they have already destroyed their part of it. So now they want us to keep our mangrove. They want us to keep our forests. They want us to preserve these things. But remember that these are also resources. And these same resources can be used to build economic wealth. So what do you want people to do? They have to cut for wood. They have to make farm. They have to do various things, and it puts us, we who are poor, it puts us in a predicament because we don't have the advanced technology to effectively employ technological investment. So we do it the the cheaper way.
No, no,
The
Mr.
cheaper way.
Isma, Mr. Isma, let me push back on this. We are talking about the few herders or few folks up country that are cutting wood in here. Their impact on the environment is minuscule compared to people building mansions in waterways, in alleyways, in swamp. I mean, we cannot give them a break on this one. One mansion built in the savannah, in the swamp, or over a mangrove, it's more detrimental than few guys who are doing subsistence living, cutting and burning here and there. We cannot absolve those of us who have come to this country, amass some little wealth or income, leaving from here and going home and exploiting our own.
Okay.
Mr.
Yeah,
Tulay.
yeah, yeah. But Mr. Gayman, I won't say one is greater than the other. Mr. Gayman, do you know one of the crimes of the century that is going on in Liberia right now? You have Burkinabes and other foreign nationals just destroying our forests
Mm-hmm,
all over the
mm-hmm,
place.
mm-hmm.
We have an army that is basically sitting in there collecting salary. In Ghana, the Ghanaians use the army to go and enforce to protect the environment because you can send just forest rangers with cutlasses against people who got arms in the bush who are mining gold and diamonds, right? And not they're not only just destroying the surface of the earth, but one of the things they are doing that is so terrible is that they are releasing mercury into the environment because they use mercury to wash the gold. Now, the people who are in power are far removed from the environmental degradation, and it takes 1,000 years for mercury to break down, right, in the environment. So you're gonna have mercury going into the fishes. The people catch the fishes, or most of them drink. They even drink the water downstream, or they use the water to water their plants and irrigate their fields. And you're gonna have mercury in the system affecting the children long term. Mr. Gaiman, I don't know how you have an FDA will sit there and allow large tracts of land to be pulverized in places like River G, in places like Sino and Grand Cook County and Grand Chile. Just large tracts of forest lands pulverized. And guess what? Those lands that have been pulverized, you can't even use it for agriculture because they're releasing toxins into the soil. So if you asking a question, let's look at the issue of the EPA functioning and somebody coming and building in waterways. Do you know that waterway thing are just happening everywhere? Like you say, I was sitting in my office this week and I look at the greenery. There's a huge tracts of forest. Like every time you enter a GPS and it brings you back to the office, you see this green space. And I just sitting there and said, these people are very, very cognizant and mindful of this thing. Keeping green spaces so that the earth can breathe. So that the earth can breathe. They keep a huge tract of land, maybe 5, 10 hectares, in the middle of sprawling urban development in Oakville, one of the most expensive real estate on the earth. And then they have this huge, it's not a park, or it's not like a park, it's just greenery, just a forest land that have never been cut down. It's just there in the middle of a sprawling developmental city. And I was telling somebody, I said, these people are very cognizant of these things. I say, if this is my country, they finished cutting that place and selling the land to people a long time ago. You see, because what happened is in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, a lot of where we call the natural drains in Monrovia, where the water went to, to drain down after a huge downpour of rain, that we're taking, like in that situation where you talk about, with homes. And because of that, the water ain't got nowhere to go. Drains. I'll give you a common example. You know where they got Boulevard Junction, SKD Boulevard Junction.
Mm-hmm.
After the junction, there was a big swamp. People used to grow rice and stuff in it. I haven't been in Liberia for long now. I heard that people built over there. Mr. Eastman, you've been to Liberia recently. Before SKD Boulevard Junction, that swamp that was over there, I heard that the people have built there. That swamp was meant to collect the water that came from all the surrounding hills and everywhere, went through gutters and things into that swamp to drain down. So if you built in that place, all the waters that my little brother was living just behind there, he had to move because one night he woke up and the flood, the whom he lived in, his home got flooded, Mr. Gayman. And
Yeah.
so flooding has never happened there before. Across the road across the boulevard, on the other side of the road, the same place now, but just on the other side, that whole place got flooded.
Right.
It have never happened before. Oh, the reason why? The water got nowhere to go again. It's the same thing that's happening with the individuals you talk about. And guess what? They themselves, even though they were paid. They were paid. The properties will be undervalued. I'm telling you, they were paid.
Yeah, and Mr. Gayman, just what he was talking about. This is what I'm trying to say. Because of our poverty, we don't necessarily do things the right way. We allow things to happen that are not supposed to happen. Mr. Tulay just mentioned the things that are going on up country, the people who mining diamond, the people who cut. We are not monitoring that thing to see that they're doing it the right way. They will eventually cause problems in the future. The building in the waterway, like you were talking about, that is one of them. If we had people the right infrastructure in place, we will police those places. We'll make sure you cannot build in certain places. We'll be monitoring it. But because the resources are limited, they don't want to. There's not enough money to make sure everybody is doing things. I'm talking about even human beings.
Mr. Eastman, this is where I disagree with you because this is power. We have government officials. We got people like us who come from here. Government officials are into mining, I would say illegal mining. We got government officials. They got gold mine, diamond mines, government officials. We got Liberians, well-to-do Liberian. The last time I heard Daniel Cassell, one of his biggest investment in Liberia is mining, gold mining and diamond mining and all that. I got friends and relatives. I got people that I know in Basel that are into the government that now when they say they pay the $300 for their permit to be able to do mining, and the government people, our friends and relatives in high places, they are destroying. Forget about settled planning. There is no such thing as settled planning. The whole Monrovia now is joining smell no taste. That there is no demarcation. There's no people just build everywhere. Well, we are running out of time. Let's go into the last one here. It's more political. Mr. Tulay, we are talking about dislodging the CDC government. We have a combination of folks who said they are ready. They want to do this. I know we're going to come back to our closing, but let's take a few minutes here to look at the different tickets. These are people, and there's a disclaimer here. This is nothing official. These are people sending us nominations, ideas in our inboxes. These are the topics that the people out there want to see. They are looking at the opposition ticket for 2023. Let's look at the ticket number 1.
Okay.
Boyka Gonglo. That's a ticket they think is viable to get the CDC or the government. Cummings or Cummings Gonglo or Gonglo Cummings. Of the combination, Mr. Tulay, you are a student of politics. You like organization. You like those things that will bring out a better results. As for me, I'm a political animal. All my life I have been everywhere, worked with the Republicans, the Democrats. I work everywhere, and I've been in several war rooms. So my politics is totally different from Liberia's politics. But let's look at a different combination here and see whether it is actually feasible or plausible.
Yo, Congo has said that he wants to test the water on his own, so he doesn't want to run under anyone. I feel it's a big mistake because I believe that Joseph Boakai is poised to go second round with George Weah on his own merits and on the fact that people believe that he has the discipline that is needed to stabilize Liberia. And I would say this: Uncle Joe may not have the virality or the agility to police Liberia and to change to bring forth a developmental agenda. That's why he needs a someone who knows what they want to do to partner with, who will be the face of the party, of the government, and who will be a vice president of consequence.
But a
Right.
vice president, I sorry to interrupt, but vice president is merely a ceremonial position.
Yeah, that's why I said I qualify myself vice president of consequence. It has to be a memorandum of understanding that I'm not just coming on board just to be a ceremonial vice president, but I will be the one to because of your age, you can make strong decisions that because you're not running again.
Yeah, but Mr. Tulay, so
Yeah.
now with this now, who do you look at here that would be a possible that
Thank you.
could be?
Wait, you mean to run with him?
Yes,
To run on the ticket with him?
yes.
The two, if Cummings already destroyed his chance to be on that ticket by his shenanigans and all his machinations and all his aftermarket play, so he already destroyed his ability to be on that ticket. Too much bad blood.
Yeah, but Mr. Tulay, I want to ask a question. Just like Mr. the Boakai camp claims that they have more popularity and more political clout than ANC and Mr. Cummings, why didn't they just go ahead to the primary and defeat him in the primary and bring him on board? Why did they not do that?
Because what they did was they inserted that clause that they said that. Now I'm not talking about the exit clause. The exit clause was a little add on. That's where the fraud came in. But they agree that anybody could go and canvass for votes in the next person's party.
Yeah. So what?
Yeah, but that was a danger. Not just
Well,
in
but if you strong,
But gentlemen, you guys are getting off topic here. You're off point. I'm asking you which one of these tickets can dislodge the CDC government.
Whoever runs with Joseph Boakai will dislodge CDC. I'm just being frank with you.
and this is why I brought him to that point, because I'm saying he didn't even want to go run with small leg Cummings in the same part. Then he would dislodge a big old CDC.
Mr. Eastman, you are using means. You corrupting the system. Voting should be on ideology, on believing in you as a person. It shouldn't be on my ability.
Yeah, all the couple rights you think they're dividing around you that principle and thing.
Who have won election based on couple rights?
No, but that's what you're saying now.
Okay, Mr. Eastman, the question I pose the question to you, Mr. Eastman. Give me a combination of tickets or names that you think stands a chance against
among those combinations you gave me.
Yes.
I look. I don't see Gongolo with Boakai at all. Their ideologies differ. I come completely diverse. I know Gongolo from school.
How the ideologies differ? Different.
Gongolo resigned from Ellen government. Let me let you know.
Ellen government, not because he was the one running things. You said it.
When you ask me a question, let me land.
Well, you said you didn't see to me,
Look, he resigned from the government. He was bitterly against what that government stood for. Then you think he would come now and go behind another surrogate of Ellen?
Have it ever occurred to you why Boakai, an elder, very experienced and very respectful old man, was sidelined by Madame Salif? Has it ever occurred to you why was he sidelined by Madam Sadiq?
What do you mean sideline? All vice president, even Toba on the top
No,
was just on the sideline. So
yeah,
what are
but
you talking about?
Gentlemen, we have run out of time.
Toba was conferred with by Tubman. As much as he was sidelined,
we have run out of time.
He was conferred with by Tubman.
Mr. Tulay, you got 1 minute. Go ahead. Close out all in one. Please.
Yeah. I will say this and say it every day.
Okay.
The mess that is there right now, the shambolic mess that we see right now in our governance system, the person that will come and bring discipline, that will come and right the ship and bring in some probity and accountability and transparency in government is Joseph Boakai. That's what I believe. And I believe that for now, my political leader, Yombi Kangalore, I believe she's in poor position to run as vice president. It is their loss. It is their loss. I'll be honest with you. The loss of Gonglo is the loss of Cummings. Cummings should have thought about this thing a long time. How many years, how many terms would Joseph Boakai want to run Liberia for? Think about it. And if you are vice president of consequence, meaning you are the face of the government, you are the ones who's running around, visiting the counties, implementing policies and making sure, doing the check and balances and everything that government needs to do, all the monetary evaluation, you are the one who's doing it. Because the old man don't got the energy to be driving from Kepamos to Lofa. It's the vice president that will do that. So my point here is this. I believe already that Joseph Boakai sits in pole position to do something. Our prayer is whoever goes with him as vice president is a strong person that understands reform and that will bring Liberia to the next level. Otherwise, that person will be kicked out with after Joseph Boakai leave power. Two of them will be going home. We'll find different person.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eastman. Real quick, we got one.
Let me come in quick. I will still say this election is the CDC to lose. It's President Weah to lose. He still has the love of the people and the power of the people, and with that, he can turn Liberia around. He has the ability. He has the power within to turn Liberia around, and if he chooses to, there will be no match for him. But if it comes to the opposition, like you're saying, I believe whoever Joseph Boakai backs, not chooses to run, but the person who he chooses to back, either he chooses to back Cummings or he chooses to back Gonglo, they would be a formidable force, but not he being on the ticket.
Yeah, but you see, you are one person that's so devoted on reality, it hurts. You sitting here, and you
Mr. Tulay, we have run out of time here.
You don't understand how Liberia works.
Mr. Tulay, let me take my 1 minute to recognize Mr. Bruce. Let me recognize Bruce Morris, Harrietta Morgan, Alexander Brown. Mr. Tulay, go ahead and recognize some of your folks, and Mr. Eastman, let's recognize some of your folks.
Who can kind of inbox a reply with me? I think I see Dwalu here. I see couple of people that I know, Peter Newville, and so I can't go forward in this. I don't know why.
Bruce Morris. I see Achimo Fredericks, a great Liberian basketball player. I see Jala, he said Nouvelle, and this other lady. We have been to Henry Kona Morgan. Henrietta Morgan.
Henrietta Morgan.
And we got Kruba under Matthews. We have Adigby, Helena Adigby, we got Dualo, we got everybody who turned in. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. There was a great show. Mr. Tulay, thank you very much as usual. A quick announcement here. I will be in Puerto Rico. I'm going on vacation next week. So Mr. Tulay and Mr. Eastman, I may not have the time to join. If I have the time, I will also I suspect or expect that you guys are going to hold the report. You will do an excellent job. If I get a chance, I will tune in. I will chime in. But it's been a great show. It was not about my cousin today. We need to talk about the next show that's coming on. A great one, Our Politics. This is the ANC, Alexander Cummings, going into the election 2023. One of his surrogates, one of his supporters, Mr. Malba Kessley, will be the guest on Focus on Liberia, Our Politics. That's tomorrow at 5 p.m. 6/13/2022. That's tomorrow. Mr. Mulba Keseli is going to be grilled by Anthony C. on the Hour of Politics. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you. We could not read all your comments today. Thank you very much for tuning in. As usual, we say we all have one thing in common, and that's Mother Liberia. We love our country. We cherish it. Everything we do here is for one reason. We all want to see Liberia better, and we will pray and work hard that it does. As usual, we leave with this song that says we are all Liberia, no matter your persuasion, whether you are Seditian or ANC, True Party, NPP, we are all Liberian. Thank you. Thank you. And today we were all on point. God bless.
We are Liberia.